As I mentioned in my last video about the top 5 most common foods that can cause acne, one on top of the list is high GI or glycemic index food. As a result, a popular recommendation we hear about often in the skincare community is to follow a low glycemic diet to clear up your acne. Before you decide whether you should do so, here's everything you need to know first. First, what is GI, the glycemic index? For those of you who haven't watched my last video yet and are not familiar with GI, the glycemic index is a rating system that ranks carbohydrate foods based on how much and how quickly a specific amount of each food raises blood sugar level when the food is eaten on its own. The GI scores are created by testing 10 or more participants' blood sugar response after consuming 50 grams of the same digestible carbohydrate of the test food. The final GI scores of the test food is an average of all participants' scores. The glycemic index is divided into 3 ranges. Low GI is 55 or less. Medium GI is from 56 to 69, and high GI is 70 or above. The higher the GI score, the more blood sugar a food can increase. Second, how can GI foods affect your skin? High GI foods with a score of 70 or above are usually broken down quickly by your body and can cause a rapid increase in your blood sugar level. When blood sugar spikes, it can cause inflammation throughout the body. It can also cause excess oil production in your skin. As I already explained in my previous videos, both inflammation and excess oil production are 2 direct causes of acne. In contrast, low GI foods are usually digested more slowly than high GI foods, so they won't increase blood sugar as much and quickly as those of medium or high GI. They typically won't cause inflammation or excess oil production in the skin either. Now let's talk about the pros and cons of the glycemic index. On the glycemic index ranking, most foods in the low GI range are whole foods like vegetable, fruit, legumes, and unrefined whole grains. And most in the high GI range are sugary and highly processed foods such as white flour products like crackers, cookies, and white breads. If you use the glycemic index as a general guidance for your diet, you are more likely to choose healthy whole foods and avoid unhealthy, highly processed foods. So does it mean that low GI foods are all safe for acne-prone skin and can help you clear up your acne? The truth is not that simple. Besides the fact that food and diet is just one of the many potential causes of your acne, there were actually some controversies about the glycemic index itself. Some critics and arguments say that the glycemic index is unreliable and misleading for the following reasons. Number 1, the glycemic index is solely based on carbohydrate, ignoring other nutritional fats such as protein, fat, minerals, vitamins, and antioxidants. As a result, you won't be able to get much other useful information from the glycemic index to help you decide whether a food is truly healthy and right for you. For example, watermelon has a GI of 72, while vanilla ice cream has a GI of 60. Does it mean that vanilla ice cream is healthier than watermelon? It doesn't seem to make sense, right? That's because ice cream contains a lot of fat, which can make blood sugar level rise slower, and thus has a lower GI. However, we would not recommend people with diabetes or those who want to clear up their acne or lose weight to eat ice cream, despite its relatively lower GI score. Number 2, the glycemic index doesn't reflect the quantity we would normally eat of a certain food. Using the same example of watermelon compared to ice cream, As we mentioned earlier, the glycemic index is measured by testing people's blood sugar response after eating 50 grams of digestible carbohydrates of the test food. Watermelon has relatively few digestible carbohydrates in a typical serving, so you will have to eat a lot of watermelon to cause blood sugar spikes. But you can get 50 grams of the same digestible carbohydrates in 1.5 cups of ice cream, which is pretty easy for people to consume. To solve this problem, researchers developed another relatively more reliable rating system, the glycemic load we mentioned earlier, which measures the change of blood sugar level when you eat a typical serving of a certain food. The GL values makes more sense because it indicates both the quantity and quality of the food. The glycemic load is divided into three ranges. Low GL is from 1 to 10, medium GL is from 11 to 19, and high GL is 20 or above. In the case of watermelon, a 4.2-ounce serving has a GL score of 4, meaning it is a healthy food choice, while vanilla ice cream has a much higher GL score of 16. Number 3, the glycemic index measures a food when it is eaten on its own, which is seldom the case in real life. Protein, fat, and fiber can slow down carbohydrate absorption and thus reduce blood sugar spikes. A meal combining both high GI and low GI foods can change how blood sugar level rises. During my research, I came across a typical example of a low GI meal that's by no means a healthy choice. An average soft drink has a high GI number, but if it is consumed with a hamburger and French fries, the entire meal can have a low GI number. Does that mean that this meal is good for your skin or can help you lose weight? Of course not. For me, if I eat a meal like this, including soft drink, hamburger, and French fries, my skin is likely to break out like crazy afterwards. Because as I mentioned in my previous video about the most common foods that can cause acne, a meal like this contains a lot of vegetable oils and is high in omega-6 fatty acids as well as trans fats, all of which can potentially lead to breakouts. And you won't be able to lose weight by eating a meal like this either. Number 4, as I mentioned at the beginning, the final GI score of the test food is an average of 10 or more participants' GI scores in the GI testing process. So the actual blood sugar response to a certain food may vary by individual. For example, the GI scores of white bread is 70. In a study conducted by researchers at Tufts University with 14 participants, the individual GI score of white bread ranged from 44 to 132, from low to very high. So even the average GI score of white bread is 70. It is not that relevant to each individual. Number 5, the GI system was first created to give food choice guidance for people with diabetes, not for weight loss or skincare purpose that many people use it for today. There were some low GI foods that may be good for people with diabetes, but not really for people who want to clear up their acne or lose weight. For example, peanuts have both low GI and GL values and seem to be an excellent healthy food choice that you can even binge on. But the reality is, most peanuts available for purchase in supermarkets are salty or flavored. They are highly processed and contain a lot of other ingredients like vegetable oils that are bad for your skin and could potentially make you break out. It is the same case for most other low GI nuts on the market. Also, I think many people will probably agree that these tasty nuts are quite addictive. So once you start snacking on them, it's hard to stop, which is not good for weight loss either. Based on the analysis of the glycemic index, you can learn and benefit from the GI ratings by following a general whole foods diet with mostly vegetables, fruits, legumes, and unrefined whole grains. However, because of its limitations, you shouldn't solely rely on it as your diet guide. The GI score is only one of many factors to consider when making food choices. When it comes to your acne, keeping a food journal and writing down what foods, regardless of their GI scores, that cause you to break out, and then eliminating them from your diet is the most effective way to clear up your skin. You should also bear in mind that food and diet is only one of the many causes of acne. If you are under constant stress, have poor sleep quality or not enough sleep, or have other bad lifestyle habits, you can still suffer from acne even if you follow a low GI or other healthy diet. To cure acne and clear up your skin, a holistic approach is the key. So I hope the information in this video is helpful for you to decide whether a low GI diet is right for you. And please comment below to let me know what you think. If you like what you hear, please also make sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to talking to you soon in my next video.